Okay, so this is the ring to cage. This is the ring to cage shin guards, and this one here is the bad boy shin guards. This is the 2.0, and you can see that there is a bit more toe coverage in the bad boys than there is in the ring to cage ones. Ring to cage ones stop here. Now there is cloth that sticks out over the top here, so if you pull that back, you can actually get a better idea of where the toe padding actually stops. So there is more toe coverage on these, but the padding is considerably thinner on these than it is on this. This is thicker, harder padding. This padding is really soft and flexible, and you can see it's also a lot more narrow. You have more slits here, so you do have more flexibility with your foot. You can move your foot around a little bit more and free than you can with these, but you are sacrificing a little bit of protection with them. You do get, of course, better toe protection than with the ring to cage, but one of the things that I don't like about this is where it stops on my knees. So looking up here, this part here stops in a nice position, and it also has the elastic piece here, so it does strap in really nice, but the protection stops well below my knee, and this one does not. So with my knees together, my heels together, you can see that the bad boy stops here and the ring to cage stops here. So you are sacrificing a large amount of knee protection with the bad boy. It does have this little extra layer of padding here on the front, and that basically makes it even with the ring cage. The padding on the sides here is thinner than the ring cage ones. I haven't tried kicking anything really hard with it yet, but they both seem fairly solid. I don't see any real problem with kicking somebody with these, but the protection is much lower on these than it is on the ring cage. So, I am going to need some knee pads for these. The sock material that these are made of is very elastic and very sock-like, so it does slide around a little bit, and it does make it easy to get on and off. The bad boys have this neoprene, which is much thicker, much less stretchy, but it does stick to your skin really, really well. And you can see where it stopped. So there's this huge gap here for, that's all open with the bad boy, and you have this tiny little gap here which is open for the ring to cage, but actually the ring to cage needs much more area, surface area to grab, because the material is basically sock material. It's not going to stick to you very well at all, whereas this feels like I am in there and it's not going to move. Plus you also have the strap at the top. The bottom part here is just your standard elastic strap, right? Whereas here again it's the sock material. So, and it is covering all the way up to the ball of my foot here. So a lot of times when I'm stepping, I will twist this material around a little bit. Whereas with this one here, there's no fear of accidentally stepping on the cord, so this thing will last a lot longer. Let's see. This one also has this elastic thingy, so you get, which is really well made, so it does give you a lot of extra stretch. You can see I can pretty much stretch this past where the Velcro can attach, so it fits really well, and this part here grabs over top, so it's all nice and secure, and so this is not going to move at all. It's pretty solid on there. The little fancy C's that they have in the back are supposed to add a little bit of extra support. It feels like it. And with this part here being so high up, it actually does make it much easier to get on and off, because you're not fighting through a lot of extra material to get your heel through. So my only real concern about these is that it's kind of a step back from the previous version. The previous version of the Bad Boys, the toes protection was a little bit further out, and the shin protection was a little higher up. So they did shrink it down quite a bit to have this new lighter, softer version of itself. So for light sparring, yeah, this will do. You still have to worry a little bit about your toes if you're, kicking incorrectly, and you definitely have to worry about your shins, your knees, because with the lack of protection that this has on the knee area, it's just dangerous. Especially when you're blocking with the upper part of your shin guard, with the upper part of your shin most of the time. And a lot of times people will kick high and stomp down on this part of my knee. I end up with a lot of scratches on the top area of my knee by the end of the night. Okay, so this is what it looks like with the knee pads. So if you do buy the Bad Boy knee pads, then you do get the full coverage. I'm guessing that's what they were expecting, that people would go out and get both if they want full coverage. So you can see the knee pad stops up here. That's right at the top of the knee, and it stops down here, which is exactly where the pad, the shin guard, stops. So unless someone has a knife and they're stabbing you right in the middle between the pads, then you are fairly well protected with this. I put this over top of the shin guard, the knee pads. The knee pads are fairly thin. They're thinner than this, but they are going to offer you some protection. You're not going to want to go bare shin against this thing, but you can take a shin guard hit against it. So if I go out like this, then yeah, I'm pretty well protected. It would have been nicer if they had just made this a little higher, right? And then I wouldn't have to put the knee pads on. But yeah, so there you go. If you do buy the Bad Boy 2.0s, then make sure you get the knee pads that go with it. So this is a small, medium, and these are also a medium knee guard, and I'll put my measurements on there for you guys to look at. So, and these, because of the neoprene that they have and because this is so snug, are a nightmare to get off, even with the open heel here. It does make it a little easier, but it's not super easy. As soon as you start to sweat, all of this becomes super sticky, and you are pretty much welded in to these boys. Okay, so if you're going to put your shin pads, your knee pads on, put your knee pads on before you put on your shin guards. Don't try to stretch them over top of them, or take your shin guards off and put these on later, because you will waste like 10 minutes of time trying to get these suckers off just to put these on. So from the very beginning, knee pads and then these. But you are going to be hot because the knee pads are sock material, so it's like putting a thick winter sock on your leg. So it's going to make you a lot hotter than you would be without them. Okay, so there is the Bad Boys. So then you get these two pretty faces staring at people as you kick them in the head. All right. Comparing them to my super armored ring to cage gels, you can see that the shin protection, of course, is lacking at the top near the knee. The thickness of these is much heavier than these, so you are going to feel them on your legs. These not so much. But you can see the toe protection is actually not that much different. Of course, there's some canvas here on the end, but if I fold that back, it's pretty darn close. So they're very similar as far as how much toe coverage they do provide, although the padding on the ring to cage is like almost twice the thickness as the ones on the Bad Boy. So this one here feels like you have a giant catcher's mitt on your foot. This one here feels like, kind of a thick leather belt in front of on top of your foot. Bad Boy Pros and the Ring to Cage GelTechs. You can see the toe padding is almost twice the thickness on the Ring to Cage as it is on the Bad Boys. Now, Bad Boy is going with the same type of strap here that the Ring to Cage has, but you can see that it's actually slightly set further back on your foot than it is on the Ring to Cage, which of course means that this part here is going to flop around a bit more on your foot. What I wish they would do on both of these is put just a little loop here, an elastic loop at the end here for your toe. So it'll go around like your big toe or your first two toes or something. That would have been a huge improvement for keeping these things on your foot like really solid. Now, in this competition, I will say that where Bad Boy does really shine is in this strapping system that they have. It's much better than the one on the Ring to Cage. The Ring to Cage one opens up, okay, but it has this flappy piece of Velcro here that does not stretch, which is kind of really annoying because it has the tendency to slide up a bit like this when you're wearing it, and that can dig into the back of your leg. Also, this piece here is not as stretchy as it could be. It's like they didn't design it for the right leg length at all, which is kind of strange. So when I'm wearing it, it grasps either halfway or about halfway, and then this folds over, which means that this piece here is flopping around. On the Bad Boy, they sewed this piece in. So here, this is all sewn in. This is not going anywhere, which is the smart thing to do. So what I plan on doing is actually sewing this to the material, and that way it's not going to move around at all. And that way it'll work a little bit more the way this one works, which is much better. And then this, you can see, even with the padding completely flattened out, this still touches here. And it does stretch. So it's got plenty of stretch to get around your leg. And this is really wide. This part here comes over and has a really nice solid fit on there. So this is really well done. It's one of the few things I really like about the Bad Boy shin guards over the Ring to Cage ones. So another area where the Ring to Cage beats out the Bad Boy Pros is this area here where your heel is going to be rubbing constantly when you get it on and when you get it off. And you can see how this is already pretty abused. And this is kind of fresh out of the box. And you can see the stitching is already coming up here. This is all unfolding. This is already worn out here, and this is 2 days old. So it's not good for the Bad Boy's quality. And with this neoprene being not very stretchy at all and it's sticking to your foot, you really put a lot of force on this area here, getting this thing on and getting it off. So this area really needs to be reinforced, and it's not. So, and you can tell it's already just coming up. And the Ring to Cage is the complete opposite. I mean, they decided to really armor up this thing here, and they put an extra piece of leather on the heel. So when your heel is banging against this, getting it on and getting it off, you are not having any worries whatsoever about this coming out. At least I'm not. So this is pretty well done. They're both really well done as far as the neoprene. This shape thing that they have going on here, it seems to work. It sticks to me. It actually, this one sticks to my leg more than this does, and I thought nothing could stick to my leg as well as this did. So whatever material they're using here, it's actually slightly thinner neoprene than this is. It really does stick to your leg. So this is not going anywhere once it is on, and neither is this. But getting it off, it actually takes me like 3 times as long to get this off and on than it does to get this on and off. And I would say a lot of that is due to the zipper and of course how tight it is. This one is a bit tighter than this one.